British politics today stands at a crossroads from which there seems to be no return. Just a few hours ago, inside Westminster, a scene unfolded that shocked not only the United Kingdom, but also the entire world. Keir Starmer, who until recently held the office of Prime Minister, was not removed by an election, nor through a vote of no confidence. Instead, he was physically thrown out of Parliament. And all of this happened in front of Nigel Farage on live television, as thousands of people watched inside and millions more followed along on their screens. This was not just another day in politics. It was a turning point that will be written into the history books forever. Today's events didn't merely damage the credibility of one prime minister. They shook the very foundation of Britain's democratic system. The country is now caught in the eye of a political storm, and nobody knows where it will end. The morning began like any other. Members of Parliament took their seats, reporters opened their laptops, and there was an air of anticipation that something significant might happen. But no one could have predicted the earthquake that was about to strike. Nigel Farage rose calmly from his bench. His face carried a slight smile, his eyes showed determination, and his posture exuded confidence. At that moment, no one in the chamber realized that a few words from him would soon bring down the system. Farage began with the issue of immigration, the wound that has defined British politics for over a decade. He reminded the House of Starmer's promises to stop the boats, to secure the borders, to protect British sovereignty. Then, one by one, he dismantled those promises with hard facts. Record numbers of illegal crossings, record levels of public spending, billions spent on hotels for migrants, deportation flights canceled, secret backdoor deals with Brussels. His delivery was not just a speech, it was a prosecution. The cameras captured every reaction on Starmer's face. At first, he tried to remain composed, but the tightness of his jaw and his restless fingers tapping on the bench betrayed his frustration. The chamber grew still as MPs leaned in, listening intently. And then came the moment that changed everything. Starmer lost control. He leapt to his feet without the Speaker's permission, breaking every parliamentary rule in the process. His face flushed red, his voice thundered, and his finger pointed straight at Farage. Starmer shouted that Farage was dividing the country, spreading hate, exploiting people's suffering for his own political gain. But this was not a rebuttal. It was a meltdown. Gasps and murmurs spread across the chamber. Journalists furiously typed, cameras zoomed in, and MPs stared in disbelief. Speaker Sir Lindsley Hoyle struck his gavel again and again, desperately calling for order, but Starmer would not stop. His voice cracked with rage, his eyes blazed with anger, and the entire nation was watching live as their Prime Minister completely unraveled. Then came the unthinkable. The Speaker invoked Standing Order 43, an ancient and almost forgotten rule that gives him the authority to eject any member, even the Prime Minister, for disorderly conduct. The chamber froze in shock. A sitting Prime Minister had just been ordered to leave the House of Commons. At first, Starmer refused. He shouted that it was unfair, that the Speaker had no such authority. But security officers had already stepped forward. Every step, every second was captured by the cameras. And then, in front of millions watching at home, Keir Starmer, once the most powerful man in Britain, was escorted out of Parliament with slumped shoulders and a face contorted by fury and humiliation. The moment it aired, the nation erupted. Social media exploded like wildfire. Hashtags like #PM_thrown-out, #StarmerMeltdown, and #FarageWins began trending. TikTok filled with clips. Twitter overflowed with memes. Everywhere, people asked the same question. If a prime minister cannot control his own temper, how can he control the country? Outside, Farage stepped before the microphones. He spoke just one line. What we saw today was not leadership. It was a collapse. Those words went viral instantly. Every news channel played the clip. Social media remixed it into sound bites, edits, and even parody songs. Farage's calm composure contrasted sharply with Starmer's screaming fury, a picture that is now etched into the political consciousness of the nation. By the next morning, the newspapers left no doubt. PM ejected from Commons, declared the Times. Collapse at number 10, read the Telegraph. Even labor-friendly outlets admitted that this was a disastrous day for their leader. News channels replayed the scene endlessly. The Speaker's gavel, Starmer's outburst, the humiliating escort out. It was more than just a scandal. It was a national reckoning. Inside labor headquarters, chaos reigned. Leaked WhatsApp groups revealed panic and anger. Senior strategists rushed into emergency meetings. MPs openly questioned whether Starmer's leadership had collapsed beyond repair. Some even warned that if things continued this way, labor could remain broken for a generation. Meanwhile, Farage seized the moment. He announced a People's Leadership Tour, beginning in Manchester, Birmingham, and Newcastle. His rallies drew thousands, each starting the same way. Giant screens played footage of Starmer's meltdown, and then Farage walked on stage with a calm smile. His message was simple: that is not leadership. That is chaos. Britain deserves better. The effect was immediate. Polls shifted overnight. Labour's popularity plunged 5 points. The Conservatives rose slightly, but the real shock was Reform UK. Farage's party surged to 21%, their highest numbers ever. Analysts called it nothing short of a political earthquake. But the crisis didn't stop with party politics. It escalated into a constitutional showdown. Legal experts pointed out that the Speaker's use of Standing Order 43 against a sitting Prime Minister was unprecedented. The Supreme Court announced an emergency hearing. If the court sided with the Speaker, it would mean that the PM's absolute authority in Parliament was broken forever. If it sided with Starmer, it would weaken the Speaker's role beyond repair. Either way, British politics would never be the same. Through all this, Starmer remained silent. No apology, no statement, no explanation. Each passing hour of silence only deepened the impression of a leader out of his depth. His enemies grew stronger while his supporters shrank away. That silence was not strength, it was weakness. On the international stage, Britain's image crumbled. Washington, Paris, and Berlin issued carefully worded calls for stability. EU officials admitted they were closely monitoring events in London. The pound fell sharply in currency markets. Investors grew nervous. The crisis had gone global. And now, one question echoes through every household, every office, every corridor of power. Can Keir Starmer survive this crisis, or was this the last day of his premiership? This was not just a meltdown. It was a disaster, a crisis tearing down leadership, fracturing a party, and opening the door to a new political era. Nigel Farage is no longer just an opposition figure. He is being seen as a prime minister in waiting. And when the Supreme Court delivers its judgment, it won't only decide Starmer's fate, it will decide the future of Britain's democracy itself. Leadership or collapse, order or chaos. Today, the United Kingdom faces its greatest test.